Hi, you're listening to Cassandra
and Jennifer with Authentically Woo Woo,
where we talk about spirituality, cosmos, balance, and living authentically.
In today's episode, we talk about the soul's purpose. What is soul purpose, and how can you find out more information? So today's topic, like I said, is the soul's purpose. But before we dive in, we thought that we would just touch base on what exactly it means. So kind of a brief introduction to the various topics associated with it. Topics like reincarnation, astrology, human design, and dharma. So our goal is that hopefully after this episode, you will feel like you have a better understanding of who you are and what your soul's purpose is within this lifetime. So what is your soul's purpose? So the soul's purpose is sort of kind of that beacon that of what you want to accomplish this lifetime. So I believe in reincarnation. You believe in reincarnation as well. And so what my beliefs are is that you are, your soul is constantly wanting to learn things and to grow. And I mean, that's what we're here for, is to grow and to learn. And so with each lifetime, we learn something new. I know we've talked in past episodes about like how my belief is that sometimes you can be a male or female or, the mom, the dad, the whatever it is within your lifetime, to learn everything that you possibly can about humanity as a whole. So soul's purpose is what it is within this lifetime that you want to learn and what's going to help your soul grow. So we touched briefly about reincarnation. Do you want to expand a little bit more on that?
Yeah, I mean, I could. So the first thing I did trying to find like a definition, I just kind of Googled it. And, basically the simplest form is just being reborn. Mm-hmm. Aside from that, I think that, all of this stuff that we say, definitely do your own research and what resonates with you, because another thing is, based on various religious beliefs, their, perspective, there's little tweaks here and there, of differences. But in a nutshell, for me, basically, like I said, I do believe in reincarnation, and I kind of see it as God's gift to us to kind of allow us to, like you said, this lifetime, you might want to be the mom or the dad, or like just to gain those different perspectives and those different lessons. I think as humans, we're curious, and I don't know, I see it as a gift of, gaining knowledge, and by, understanding your purpose, your soul's purpose, and kind of that underlining, I don't know, theme? Yeah. Feeling theme. Mm-hmm. By understanding it more and living in line with that in the back of your mind, I don't know, I just think that, it allows us to get one step closer each journey, each experience to, where we want to be. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
Absolutely. And I also, like, with reincarnation, like, I believe that we have a choice. We can say, after our lifetime, we go to back to heaven, source, whatever you want to call it, and then we're just sort of kind of like, okay, am I done? Do I want to do that again?
Right.
Like, and I think that some souls will just be like, I'm good. I'm good. I don't want to go back. I'll watch my loved ones, and and I'll be like on their spirit, their soul team. But I'm good. I don't want to. But and so then the ones that are here, us, like now, we are. We chose to be here at this specific time for a reason. Yeah. Whatever it may be. And
some of that ties back to like the soul contracts that we talked about,
last episode and stuff.
Yeah. So, yeah.
2 episodes? Last episode?
One of those episodes.
One of those episodes.
One of those episodes. The one that has the title that's like soul contracts. But yeah. So, yeah.
So, okay. So with our soul's purpose, like there's all these different tools per se to like learn like, okay, well, what's our soul's purpose? So astrology is one of them. I was going to say, do I talk about this one?
We have notes.
Yeah, we have notes.
There's a lot of detail that goes into this one, so we have notes. Lots of notes. And books.
Books and notes and notes and books. So the main thing of your soul purpose, like, is what makes in the very basis of what makes your soul happy. Like, whenever you follow your happiness, you're going to follow and find your soul's purpose. But like I said, there's these little tools and just different little things to help. And so astrology is one of them.
Right.
Astrology is an amazing tool. And we always are like, oh, hey, what's your sign? And, and that has only been mainstreamed since the 70s. And then I think it was in the 80s, because, 70s, the age of Aquarius, free love, like everyone was, and, but then in the 80s or 90s, I'm pretty sure the 80s was the very first time that it was ever written into, it was either a magazine or a newspaper, but it was written, and that was like the horoscope and what started the horoscope trend. And I never knew that it started like not that long ago, because being an 80s baby, reading 17 magazine or Cosmo, like all of that, like it was always like, all right, what's my horoscope for the month? And I remember I'd always like go and read it. And so, but that is a little teeny tiny ingredient of like what your astrology actually is. So any of those horoscopes, they're just going to be based on your sun sign. And so your sun sign is the date that you were born. So like the actual date in the month. We're both Aries. We're 2 days apart in April. And we, and Aries flows from March, April, and then, goes into the next sign, Taurus, which is at the end of April and into May.
Which, can I really quick, quick note on that is like under talking about soul's purpose and all of this stuff. It's funny because we're 2 days apart.
Yeah.
But just like when you talked about the sun sign being like this much, like the very basis, but it's like 2 days apart. But yet, while we have similarities, there's a lot of differences.
Of course.
A lot of differences between us. So it's definitely just that sun sign, that horoscope of that blanket of just...
Yeah.
An Aries, this is, so, sorry.
No. So an Aries is perpetrated as being this, like, over-the-top center of attention, which I think more goes with me than when you're an Aries.
I'm coming into a little bit more of understanding and,
I come from a showbiz fam, so we are show business family. Sorry, I was
you were speaking your Gen language.
I was speaking Gen. And so, it was like, we joked that, we were like born on a stage type
Which
thing.
I'm jumping ahead of myself, but you're Aries, and you have Aries. And Aries is your moon or rising? Moon. Yeah. So you got a lot of Aries.
Yeah. A lot of, So, okay, so astrology. So we understand it as like, just our birth sign. Well, so what I like to think of it is like this bowl. We're going to make Jen. And we're going to add a dash of Aries, and then we're going to add all these other ingredients into this bowl and mix it up, and poof, there's a Jen. And and like, so you have 12 houses. You have the 3 major things are like your sun sign, your moon sign, your ascendant or rising sign. And then you have your
houses.
Yeah, your 12 houses, all the aspects, which are all the
planets,
angles, that everything. So your astrology, your natal chart is like when you are born, the moment you are like whoop into the world, at that point in time. So it's very scientific. Like you take where everything was in our galaxy and you flatten it and put it on like a piece of paper, and well, here you are. This is where the moon was. Yeah. Yes, yeah, you're the center. And this is where the moon was. This is where the sun was. This is where, all your planets are, and then you have this wheel.
Maybe we'll have to have your brother like pop up one of our charts on the video.
Oh gosh, yeah, then they can really dissect us and be like, wow. Anyone who knows anything about astrology.
So we won't say it's us, maybe.
Yeah, no, we're just gonna put up a chart.
Random chart.
So then that becomes your natal chart or your birth chart. And there's all these different little like ingredients that go into your natal chart to make you you. And then when you have a better understanding about those ingredients, you can say, oh gosh, no wonder I taste a little garlicky. I've got some garlic and shallots in me. I mean, just like something.
No, that's perfect example.
And, yeah, so I was going to use
garlicky.
You're like, I was going to use sweet, garlicky. And then I was like, we'll go with garlicky. So and whenever I just like quickly look at a chart for someone, I look at the three aspects, and not three aspects, I'm sorry. The three, like the major trio of your sun, your moon, your rising, because that gives
hitters.
Yeah, the big hitters. that sort of kind of gives you like a good basis of who that person is, and or how they think and emotionally and etc. And then the other one I always like looking at is the north node and the south node. And today we're really going to dive into the north nodes and south nodes, especially the north node.
Yeah, and I had a couple more notes on that too. Yeah. So there are lots of things, and we'll definitely talk more in general about astrology because
this is just like 101.
Yeah, there are so many layers that it's hard to grasp. Like, and it's funny because my husband, it's like he was so interested at first, and then it was just like at some point you start to see him like, like you can tell. Like once you get past that, you have all 12 signs in you. People are like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Like they generally from there are like.
I don't get along with Scorpios. There's no Scorpio in me.
Oh my gosh, which is so hilarious because, nope. Keep your astrology in check. Oh, so many notes. But anyways, soul purpose, Cassandra, we're talking about soul purpose. So along with astrology and soul purpose, there's also other elements to that, it's funny. I think once people start to get that basic understanding of astrology, then the next thing, it's like people, I think, fixate on where the challenging planets are. Like, where's my Pluto? Where's my Chiron?
And Saturn.
Exactly. And Saturn. So it's fixated a lot, I think, on like, the next thing people learn or start to obsess over is like, oh, my Saturn return.
Yeah.
Because that generally is a significant adjustment in your life and your soul purpose that happens around 30. Hey, Dale.
Oh, yeah.
Also, you have your Chiron return, which Chiron is the wounded healer, and we'll go into all of that later too. But basically, that happens around 50. And then the Uranus opposition is also significant, and it's kind of referred to often as like your midlife crisis, which is around 42. That's next year for me. We'll see how that goes. I wonder what Uranus has in store for me. Oh gosh, 42. Anyways, so all of those things. So it's like and I say that because with each one of those, you get a bit closer and closer to your soul's purpose versus like when you're, you haven't reached your Saturn return.
Yeah.
So there's all of that stuff too that kind of plays into that. So, yeah.
Can I just say one little thing?
Yeah.
I'm too immature to say Uranus, so I have to say Uranus. Like, I'm like...
Dale, my husband, same thing. Like, I'm just like, it's Uranus. That's just, I know, I've heard people say it like that. I've always just like, Uranus. So, yeah, every time I talk about it, Dale's like...
Oh, I'm
totally... So no judgment. No judgment.
So if you hear me say Uranus, it's just because I am way too immature to say Uranus. Because then I'm like...
It's like, I wonder if there is an actual proper way to say it. Because I think that...
I'm sure there is. I think I think the London proper, like the British way of saying
London
it.
proper.
Is Uranus, because you would never see like the Queen of England going Uranus.
Well, I have a Uranus. There we go. Okay, so Jen, thank you for that.
You're welcome. Yeah.
Now, you want to add to this whole, I feel like we weren't going to dive too much into astrology, but there is just so much. You want to talk about a little bit more about the North Nodes? I know you mentioned a little bit about that.
So the North Node is, I mentioned earlier about like the beacon, like your soul's purpose being like that beacon in your life. And so like the light, all right, this is, again, my total maturity showing. On the movie Wreck-It Ralph, they have...
That's a good movie.
It is. It's a great movie. So when he's in the one game and it has the Tower of Light and all the bugs are going towards the light, like that beacon.
Okay.
So bad example of a good example. They're bad bugs, but okay, so maybe that was a bad example. But a beacon
you just wanted to talk about Wreck-It Ralph.
I did. I like Wreck-It Ralph. So that beacon is like what we're drawn to. And so many of us get I don't know, it's been like dumbed out of our system, I want to say, of like where like you're not supposed to follow your happiness.
You know why?
Like, why?
Because we are day to day running the grind of what we are supposed to do.
Yeah,
Jinx.
absolutely. Yeah. Exactly, and it's the truth. And it's like all these things that we're supposed to do,
which is could be someone else's purpose, but might not be yours.
Everyone's. Yes. And so like, you're working all these hours and
that's what responsible people do.
Of course. Like that is like what, like, it was even drilled into me, and of like, no, you can't be an artist. Like, you have to get a career, you have to get a job. And it's not my parents' fault, because that's like what society expects of you. Right. And, so it's different for everyone. Everyone's soul's purpose is different depending upon your soul and what it is that you want to learn.
Right.
So the North Node in your chart, you have a North Node and you have a South Node, and they are polar opposites, like literally.
And they're not actually planets.
No, and they're not. Astrology. And they're not. And so just like the moon isn't really a planet, but to keep up with ancient traditions, they keep the moon as a planet, and then we're gonna dive deeper into the moon, and I'm so excited about that because I love the moon. But that's another podcast. And so with the North Node, that is your beacon. That is like your happiness, what you're supposed to find within this lifetime. And the North Node is it's like that. What's the famous mountain that you climb? Not Mount
Everest?
Kilimanjaro. Everest. Yeah.
Okay.
So our north node is our Mount Everest, of where like we want to reach the top, and when we get to the top of it, like that is going to be our ultimate
We did
soul
it.
satisfaction of like, oh my God, we did it. And that is really hard, right? Like so many people try climbing Mount Everest and it's not easy.
Yeah.
And so it's going to push you. It's going to, test everything in you. But it is so rewarding. And if you're not a climber, if you're like, oh, I would never climb Mount Everest. And so think of it something else. But that is, it's going to push you and it's going to be uncomfortable, but is the most rewarding, and you're going to find the most happiness from that, because life, like something easy, so for example, so like whenever we stagnate, which we talk about too. So all right, so I'm getting ahead of myself. Yeah, our notes. Because there is just so much to talk about, and we wanted to make sure to hit all of our bases. Bases.
Yeah,
bases.
like baseball.
Yeah.
Bases.
So, North Node is where you'll find your true calling and your happiness. Your South Node is the exact opposite of your North Node. And so, your South Node is what you bring into this lifetime. So your North Node is what you want to obtain during this lifetime. And then your South Node is what you have learned. Like, if you believe in reincarnation, what you have learned from your past lives that you're bringing with your soul. You're really comfortable there. Like, it is, you have all the things in there. But the problem is that if you stay there, you're going to feel stagnant.
Yeah.
And, so that's why you want to ascend and so kind of achieve that North Node, because that's like where your soul's like, no, I really want to learn this.
Yeah.
So, for example,
yours.
Yeah. So, for example, with mine, so my North Node is in my 11th house, which is all about community and friendship, and it's in the sign of Aries. And then my South Node is in my 5th house, which is creativity and children and any of those like birthing of ideas. And what else is like in the
what 5th house? Creativity, uniqueness, like what makes you special.
Okay.
Basically, where you stand out, sports.
Well, I didn't get that.
Yeah. But romance, anything.
Competitiveness, though.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah.
So any of those like creative type things, that's and
hobbies are in there too.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so that's where my South Node is, and that's in the sign of Libra. Again, which is a very family-oriented.
That's my rising.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Balance and yeah.
Yep.
Others.
Yes.
Very others.
Absolutely. So that's the other thing, right? So when Aries is very independent
for themselves. Oh,
yeah.
Not in a bad way.
No.
We don't mean it like that, but yeah.
But
I think with astrology, all of these things, what you're aiming toward is the beautiful balance of all the things. There are times where you need to stand up for you're finish talking about your North Node, and I feel like that will come to, you'll get
it. So being in South Node Libra, family oriented, putting others first, and everything like that. That is, like
your jam.
Yeah, it is. And create anything creative. We're both very creative, but like I feel like if it's something that I can do with my hands, I can sit there and watch it one time. Like, I can do that, and I can do it. And so, but that's just what I've learned, like, from my past lives. Like, I'm not saying that like pompously or whatever, but that's just like, that's what I've been blessed and gifted with within this lifetime. And so putting others first and et cetera, et cetera. And then my North Node is being independent, sticking up for myself, being a leader, which I've always like, but it was interesting because like growing up, even as like a young kid, like I was always that, my mom would refer to it as like that Mighty Mouse, that where sticking up for the underdog and being unique and of like I liked leadership roles, but sticking up for myself, being independent, like that's really tough.
It's
for
like
me.
the 11th house aspect of your North Node is easier because that's more community oriented. It's the Aries part that's the challenge for you, and where the Libra side of things is natural. The other parts, yeah, it's hard.
It is. And I feel like so here in my notes I have so the North Node points to the qualities that we want to work on and develop to achieve inner balance. So this even talks about like in my first half of my life, or like, younger years or whatever, I learned many lessons regarding codependency, indecision, fear of making errors, and striking out. And oh my gosh, I really did. Like I never wanted to cause, any turmoil. I never wanted to like ruffle any feathers and just like, but at the same time, there was always this like, no, that's not right. But there, like the codependency, oh my gosh, of like some of like the ex-boyfriends and stuff like that. And I was like, wow, but it was like all these lessons that I needed to learn, even through friendships. And one of the major things is that failing is okay.
Yeah.
Failing is one of the most amazing things that someone can go through. It's hard. It doesn't mean that it's easy.
Yeah.
But, and that was even one of the things that I had to learn of, that everything will be good.
Yeah.
Like what there's an expression about failure, about how it's like the best teacher.
Yeah.
And I totally feel like that's true. Okay.
Yeah.
So you
my North Node?
Yes, yeah.
Okay. So I don't know what it was I was expecting, but I feel like I got some basic, so understanding North Node and understanding astrology as my soul's purpose was like, I feel like it hit me really hard, like really quickly. I just remember, I was, which I think I mentioned this in my notes, Astrology and You is an amazing podcast to start to learn a bit about astrology. And I can remember this was, I went through this whole spiritual awakening, back the Gemini solar eclipse. Solar eclipse, right? New moon. No, solar eclipse. Yeah.
It was the last solar eclipse, wasn't it? In that cycle or something like that?
Yeah. So it was just like all this information came like this at me. And gosh, there's so much to say. But before we get into it, we're going to take a break and hear from our sponsor.
Welcome to the DW World History Series. I'm your host, David Wainwright, and I'll be taking you through 3,000 years of Egyptian history, beginning with King Narmer and ending with the last native Egyptian ruler, Nekhtenebet II, in 343 BC. If you follow our video series, you experience one of the most detailed presentations on this great civilization. A podcast series is available for download at dwworldhistory.com. Here you will also find detailed outlines for each episode with additional resource material, maps, and bibliographies. Please remember to like us on Facebook and subscribe to our channel on YouTube. And now, join us as we take you through the world of history.
Okay, so before our break from our wonderful sponsor, we were talking about your north node. So where exactly is your north node and your south node, and what have you learned researching that?
So all right, I got my train of thought. So basically what I was kind of leading into with that is when basically with my spiritual awakening, like the astrology, like all of this stuff hit me like really quick. So I just remember, I had a basic understanding of sun, moon, and rising. I understood the basics of like we all have every sign in us. And I was listening to the Astrology and You podcast, and they started to really dive into what each house represents and stuff like that. And I remember that night going home, and it was just like there was a few things based on my house placement that tapped into like my childhood and my way I think and stuff, and it was like, oh my gosh, like there's something to this. And so it was just, oh God, it fed that desire to understand myself. And I remember though when I found out what my north node is, and I don't know exactly what I was expecting, but I remember hearing it and being like, really? Like, I don't know what it would have or should have said, but basically, and I'll tell you, I remember calling you and saying, it means I'm supposed to learn to play nice with others, basically, you know? And I was just like, at the time, but at that point, I didn't realize some of the deeper rooted shadow work. We talked about that. The episode that says shadow work,
light workers and shadow workers.
So I hadn't got into that part of my journey yet. So I just remembered at that time, like, I didn't expect it to be like, you're going to develop the cure for, I don't know. But I was just like, play nice with others, really? That's like my, I didn't get it at the time. But goodness gracious, like, in all the things I've learned and just like the layers of how something so simple is so big. It's so big. So I have a book, and I think you brought it with you. The 12 houses. So astrology, do a little, what is it?
Vanna White,
yeah. Great book, and this was referred to by Astrology and You, the podcast I mentioned, and it really helps to understand the houses and the planets and placements, but it also, since today we're not diving into all the astrology things, we're focusing on north nodes, there is a section in there that talks about like your north and south nodes. So in my handy dandy notes here, it says, basically, these people should be encouraged to become involved with group endeavors, a need for social awareness, rather than just being concerned with their own personal interests. So basically, I need to learn how to play nice with others, and I need to be around others. You mentioned for your south node being in Libra. So my rising is in Libra. So a lot of that, like, because we talk about soul's purpose, there, understanding your astrology and your north node and how all of it ties in, all for the same thing. So there are aspects where, I want to please others, but struggle with my Capricorn moon and wanting, so I try to control everything, which a lot of times means me wanting to just hide in the background and do it myself or not be, involved with others. It's not because I don't appreciate others or want to be involved with others. It's those things that I'm meant to work on with my insecurities and people pleasing and this and that and controlling things and learning to, oh my gosh, like we experienced this a little bit this week with like wanting to control. What are we talking about? Having to have the, in this like desire in everything I do, like to, whether it's work, the podcast, relationships, like this desire to control things, to keep emotions in check because of different sensitivities and things I've worked through. So anyways, it's funny though, because one thing for me that I've really, really got into, and I know I've talked your ear off about, is I'm very, very much into human design, like understanding human design.
Which I don't... Nothing. I know nothing. I just know what you've talked to me about, and that hasn't been something that I've like researched yet, but it sounds absolutely fascinating.
Yeah, so I'll definitely give a definition, but before I get too far off on my North Node, just for me, with all of this stuff, my logical brain, I know I've talked about this in prior episodes, it's like when you can tell me... Someone sneezed. Bless you!
That scared me.
Yeah, you jumped out of your skin. But it's like when I look at one thing, and astrology says XYZ, and then human design is like XYZ, I'm like, oh, wait. But, like, that's what astrology is saying. So before I go too far into human design, though, there is one little element, because I will get sidetracked. But based on that North Node description, so in my notes here, I wrote down, so in human design, there's various different elements, and don't worry about all of that. We'll get into that later. But basically, there's a profile type as part of the different things. And I'm a profile of a 4/6, which is the opportunist role model, which basically means I am forced to be interacting with people. Yeah. Like, forced to be interacting. Like, they say these people are not people that can just, like, hide in their closet or, stay in the living room and be like, what do I want to do? What do I want to do in life? And just come up with it. I have to go out. I have to connect. And my journey is only related to the people that I go along. And so looking back at it, I know in prior episodes, or maybe it wasn't on here. Maybe it was on it was on my Instagram on Ever After Vintage Weddings. I did a couple little things. And one of the things is I talked about how my journey started. And it's like, I was in therapy. They said you should have a hobby. I mean, can you imagine me with nothing?
No, I can't.
I mean, the energy that I have, but I had nothing. And she's like, you need a hobby. So I was like, okay, went to counseling. They said I need a hobby. Go find a hobby. Go to a floral class. Go, I went here, there, and there. Literally, I was in taking cake decorating, and the instructor's like, hey, you're pretty good at this. You should do cake decorating. I'm like, okay. So I did cake decorating. Got the job at Michael's teaching cake decorating. The event coordinator was like, hey, you would be good as an event coordinator. And I'm like, okay, let's be an event coordinator, and it was literally, you can see what I mean. Yeah. It's like, it's not like you're going to go, it's interconnected. I have to be interconnected, and that's how my path evolves. And then with that, you can tell when I get awake. Like, I'm now awake because I feel like my volume, your brother editing me is probably like, she started hearing, now she's like yelling at people with excitement. Sorry, I was distracted. But basically it means you need to be around people, and as you're around people and you live authentically and you learn your lessons, share your lessons, be who you are, then you will help people.
Yeah.
So I was like, wow, there's that similarity of like, you need to play nice with others
Of your North
and
Node.
not
Yeah.
So there's a correlation there between the two. So, okay, so I know I jumped all around, but let's go back. What is what is human design? And so
I don't know what is human design.
So there are so many elements. I'm gonna share some of those, but first let me go to my handy dandy notes. So human design is the science of definition. I practiced like 5 times saying the
Where are
word
you at?
differentiation. They know, right?
Yeah, differentiation.
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah. You have
Differentiation.
words
There we
you
go.
struggle with too, so
Oh,
I'm not
a lot of
alone,
them.
right?
Oh,
Or is
no.
it just me?
No. You do. No,
It's good that
do.
you can pronounce the words that I'm like get tongue tied over.
Yeah. We're a good combo. I got you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I love you.
Oh, I know you too.
But yeah, so it shows us basically that we're all unique with a specific purpose. So it is a combination of ancient and modern science, such as quantum mechanics, genetics, astrology, astronomy, the Chinese I Ching, chakras, and the
Kabbalistic?
If we're butchering that,
sorry.
please forgive us. Tree of life.
The Kabbalistic.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah. So I know that's a lot and it sounds confusing. And now I didn't even think to share a chart, but now I even wonder if we should share a chart of what that looks like.
Okay.
Anyway, so basically it looks like you've got a human that's like in a meditative position, and there's like you've got the different chakras, which actually there's 9 centers.
And this is for human design.
For human design.
yeah.
And then you have various channels and gates associated with it. And basically, and then you've got personality and design. So with astrology, you talked about your natal chart is the placement of in that moment. So in human design, they also do the charting of 3 months prior to your birth as well, because the belief is that that's when the soul actually enters into the body 3 months prior to being born. So they take all of this science and information and data, and I know it's confusing, and we'll definitely touch on it here and there, and otherwise as we go. I'm actually in the process of taking courses, because while it sounds really confusing here, actually astrology, it's like you have to go through all the aspects and the this and then that, where human design, it's all about soul purpose. Like it's all about like who you are designed to be and how you are designed to live. So it's like it gives, I know we were talking the other day, and just like a little bit of information, and it's like, oh, that makes sense. I can apply that. I could see that in myself. So I love it. So yeah, I'm learning more about it in hopes to share it more with others. But basically that's a little bit about the human design. And I know we were also talking too about because I looked up and shared your profile. So I'm the 4/6, the opportunist role model, and you were the challenge solver. And so, which basically, so what they say with the numbers is, a lot of times you can relate more to the first number, and people see you often as the second number. But basically, in general, so Jen, yours is that you have this essence about you that when people are around you, they know that you can solve their problems. Like, and how many times have I called and like, and and I'll just be like, Jen, okay, bye, and it's just like, you have this energy about you that you have an essence that just, you appear like you're able to help. But with that comes like understanding energetically, just because you can save the day for everybody doesn't mean no one can take all that on. No one can take all that on. And so the 5 represents that as, the person that has that, help people fix their problems energy, and then the 1 is the investigator and knowledge and connected to that, and heck, that's a heck of a backup if you are going to save the day for people.
Absolutely.
Because you're not just going to save the day, you're going to know what the heck you're talking about while you're doing it. So I don't know. What do you think, like, from some of that? What does that tie? Do you see any correlations between your North Node, astrology, and human design?
Yes. So my North nodes, our North nodes are both in our 11 houses, right? Yeah. So
just different signs. Mine's Leo, and my South is in Aquarius, which is more intellect and introverted. Yes. And Leo is very out and
boisterous and everything. Yeah. So whereas mine is but we still have like that collaboration that we're supposed to do. We're supposed to be the penguins.
It's kind of almost in a way reverse, where you and I are to some degree.
Because
not
of that
100%. But I'm meant to not be so closeted and work more do more of your energy. Yeah. And you're meant to balance more the opposite of not doing so much just for others, and kind of bring in a little bit more
independence from like a leadership role. Right. Which is funny because, like, oh my gosh, like group projects, where I'm in a group project right now with our kids' school, and I have like 2 women on my team to like help me, and I really struggle. Like, I have to really force myself to delegate, because it's just so natural for me to be like, just do it, and that's tough. So that collaboration we both have, as far as back to the human design and the 5-1, absolutely. Like, how many times have we, and we've talked about this in another podcast, of like, even of just us being out and together, and like how many times like just random people will come up to me and start talking to me, sharing their stories, or ask for my help, or like there's countless times, and I just think it's normal. I'm like,
it's not normal.
But I don't know any better. You're right. And so
it's normal for you. It's not that it's not normal. It's normal for anybody with a 5 in their human design profile.
And it's just like that. Like, okay, yeah.
Well, what was really funny, because we laughed about this yesterday, is like, the universe was, and we've joked about my spirit guides and stuff, and the universe was like, oh man, that Cassandra, like, she really needs some help, because she is a 5 and my husband has a 5 too. So I've got save the day. I've got 2 people helping me out on this whole journey of discovery.
Of course. Your soul team, knew what you needed in this lifetime and knew what I needed. Yeah. And so is 5 like is 5 like a common number, or is that like one of like is it just all different?
So there's a science to it. I forget how many variations. No, you're fine. That I don't remember. I think they said there's 12. And don't 100% quote me on that. But there's it's numbers. I believe the numbers are 1 through 6, because 6 is role model, and there's, I think, 12 variations of those numbers. Okay. So
Okay. All right. That's too much math in my head, but yeah.
But it's interesting. It's definitely So
that's cool.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah.
So the quiz, it's this it's this pretty in-depth quiz, and it asks, you know, your point of view on these different things. And I think the most important thing that I can offer a piece of advice is don't overthink it.
Yeah.
And because there's sometimes a tendency of mine to like, well, am I or am I this? Yeah. And so it was don't overthink it. Go with your first like gut reaction. Mm-hmm. And so there's two. You have your first like your main dharma, and then you have your secondary. And I can't remember if I said this of where dharma and karma are two different things. Right. And so your dharma is your soul's purpose. So my main thing is the teacher. And the teacher is here to teach experiences that they undergo to help the greater good. And so like the penguin of, you know, the teacher penguin. Yeah. And if you have no idea what I'm talking about as far as the penguin, we have a podcast it was our second, about where we talk
what's
about
up with the penguins.
And so my main one is the teacher, and then my second one is the nurturer, which is here to care and connect. And the nurturer is very empathetic. They are that mothering type person, which again goes with my Libra and my astrology of that being my South Node. So that's what I come into this lifetime already having.
And your Cancer.
And my Cancer. Yeah. So my rising sign is Cancer. And the Cancer in astrology is very emotional, feels all of the things, and so that's very empathetic, and so
motherly energy.
Yes, yeah, exactly. So those are my dharmas, which is pretty incredible, because even with my blog, I talk about you know, what I've been through and the experiences that I've been through to try to help others. And so what was interesting is that one of my other best friends, we were having a conversation, and I think I talked to you about this with Celeste, and she was like, if money wasn't an issue, if and I can't remember if I've talked about this in the podcast before, but if money was an issue, if schooling was an issue, if you could do anything in the world, what would you do? And I said, I would want to write a book. I would want to write a book, and I'd want to travel, and I'd want to teach people. And that is because I know I want to help people, but how can I help on the greatest scale that I possibly can? If I were, you know, localized to our community, I don't feel like I could get as much of an outreach. So it's interesting that I can identify before knowing my dharma, because I didn't know this until last night. And this was over the summer that I had this conversation, and it was so interesting because I can already identify within my what brings me happiness, and just that satisfaction of knowing that my purpose is being served. And so, you know, I hope to only continue and to grow to do that, so that I can, not that I'm special, or anything like that, but just that,
don't do that though.
I know
you are so special. You're exactly who you were designed to be.
Yes, but I don't want to sound pompous. I hate,
Don't worry about that. We all should. If we all need to just love, understand, and it's okay for all of us to be proud of how we were designed to be. And when we come, just every time I think of that, I just think of, okay, if I come at this with insecurity, what is that going to cause?
Bring more insecurity and stuff. So I am special.
You are special.
You're special. Yay!
love
I'm a
it.
pompous special. I wouldn't be like,
Yeah.
like, hey, I have some weird things and some knowledge that I can show and help you with your strange weird things.
Yeah.
And, so like I just,
and it's funny on that because I feel like I want to talk about my mistakes. Yeah. So it's like so I get it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
All right, so your dharma. What's your dharma?
So my dharma is my primary is the nurturer and the secondary is the artist.
Yes. Which absolutely you are totally the artist and
just like I got onto you, I'm gonna take what you're saying and try to relay and not feel insecure. No.
Because you are, and like you and I've said this before, but like Cassandra can touch anything, and you have the Midas touch, and you have the ability to create anything, and anything is just amazing. And I will tell you that over and over and over and over again. Yeah, absolutely. And,
at least once or twice.
maybe even today.
Oh gosh.
So, not only that, but like it makes my heart really sad that you went 20-something years without creating. I mean, because like you said earlier in this podcast of where you went to therapy and then they're like, hey, you need a hobby, and you're like, okay, I'll do something creative. And it's like, holy cow. And so
up until then, the only thing creative I did was like design my wedding. That was that's
it. Just design my wedding. Just a little thing, which is hilarious because I wrote my wedding.
Wow.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah, because you're the word person.
Yes.
You're the word person.
I wrote out everything and created this book.
And word person.
Yeah. The pretty and wordy. Yeah. I love it. Okay. All right. So anyways, so your dharma is the nurturer and the artist.
Yeah. So basically it says, my purpose is to care, connect, while learning not to be dependent. And then also to bring beauty in the world. Yeah. So, which is interesting with that because going back to that word of dependent. So this is another place where, my brain likes to connect the dots, and see the different variations. So in astrology, so your sun sign is yourself, pretty much, the simple explanation of it. So my sun sign is actually in my 7th house, which is the house of other, house of not self. So with that comes along this struggle of finding your identity through, 7th house also is like any deep partnership, whether it be work or, a relationship, a marriage. So like struggling to find yourself outside of that, that's kind of like, it's like this meshing of like, oh, okay, this is a codependent feel of identity. And then in human design, so there's 9 centers and all of mine are sparkly lit up except for the 2 in the center, which is the G center, which is direction and love. And then I think I have that right. And then the heart, the ego, which is a heart center, which isn't heart in the sense of love, but rather like it's more of an identification. And so when your chart in human design, you have this center not colored in, that means it's undefined. So that's the place where you're going to experience those areas of your life through someone else who has them filled in. So once again, here you have like that lacking of initial identification, but find it through other experiences, means, and people. So a lot of
like
it.
your North Node.
So so I need to seriously work on my self-worth and struggles with that, because everything in this journey is requiring that. Like, it's really requiring me to really understand and hone in, and try to fight off those codependent tendencies and identifying myself and kind of like feeling like standing out there. That doesn't mean you're egotistical or this or that, you know. It's like, in the basic sense of it, we have to have some of that. And so it's interesting. It's all interesting how it all kind of ties in and correlates, and
It is. So I find it fascinating. I'm excited to dive deeper in my own spare time of like the human design to help me.
It's neat. We'll definitely leave some links for people.
Yes, absolutely. And one of the, just real fast, that before we close, but one of the best things that, my mom says a lot of wonderful things, but one of the best pieces of advice was, one time I was having a hard time understanding my daughter, and when she was younger, and I'm like, I just, like, that is like something like my personality, like I don't understand. And my mom's like, have you ever done her natal chart?
Yeah.
And I was like, no, I hadn't, because she was little, and I don't know, I think like whenever you make little miniature versions of yourself, you expect them to be like you. And
it don't work that way.
No, it doesn't at all. And so
which is comforting and scary.
Yeah. So I ran her natal chart, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, this makes so much sense.
Yeah.
And so that just to leave that with you, it's again, those ingredients.
There's
of what
insight.
Makes
There's
us.
so much
There is
insight, and
Yep. So next podcast, we will be talking about Mercury retrograde.
Ooh,
which I am very excited to talk about. So I hope everyone has a fantastic day, and thank you for tuning in and watching and listening.
Bye-bye.
Bye.